Hello, hello, guys.
Howdy.
Fancy finding you guys here.
I know, my
Wow.
goodness.
How's it going, fellas?
It's going good. How are you guys doing?
Pretty good.
Awesome, man.
Good.
I'm excited about this. It's going to be fun tonight. As it always is. Sometimes I feel a little bit kind of tired and burned out, and then once we get on here, it's pretty cool. The energy comes back, and it's always a enjoyable time. It's so good to see you guys again. So I guess we could start off by welcoming everybody to the stream team beekeeping chat tonight. 84 folks on here already. We appreciate you checking in and tuning in tonight. We look forward to talking to you guys about bees tonight. And so thanks so much. There's so many in the comments. It's hard to recognize everybody, but we see a lot of familiar names, and I recognize a few names. There's a few names in here I don't recognize actually. So hopefully we got some new folks on here and hope you enjoy it tonight. But we appreciate everyone for being on here tonight. So Brian, what's going on up there in your neck of the woods?
Getting things situated finally. So I went and checked the other day, and I actually had a video I put out yesterday? I think yesterday. And I went and checked a little nuke, and that thing's doing pretty darn good. And then I had that one other colony that I had a blunder with when I put those queens in, and they made their own, found a nice pattern. So, and there's enough population in that colony that I don't feel like at this point where it will hurt them going into the winter. We've got the weather here now, so the queen is just laying it up. I found a couple frames that were just solid broods. I thought, I think my worrying, I probably stressed myself out more than what I needed to. So that's always nice. I mean, knowing that all your colonies are kind of sitting in a good spot. I think I'm going to make a decision in the next few days, and we've got 80-degree weather coming in Ohio. But I think I'm going to make an executive decision and yank all my supers here within the next few days, just so that if there is any bit of a flow, if there's any space for them down below, they can just start filling in. That way it'll kind of, instead of me having to feed them to get them to wait, at least they can throw some of Mother Nature, So I probably am going to be wrapping up my honey extraction for the season here soon. And then I did a check on 3 colonies that I have certain bees in them. Their initials are VSH. Mm-hmm. And I finished up editing that video today, and I've got it's just my honest opinion on what I see. And I just am throwing it out there, and like I said, it's just what I feel. My honest opinion. I'll just say that.
Okay.
So
absolutely. Well, that's all anyone could ask, right?
Yeah. But and it's all good. I bought a new toy that I'm going to pick up at the conference, and after a conversation with their world famous Mike Berry.
Wait. Can we guess what it is first?
The new thing I got?
The new toy.
How about if folks guess in the comments? Guess what that toy is. Let's let folks guess on that a little bit.
Anil knows what it is. So
who does?
Easy Anil. Loader. Brian got an easy loader. That's my money's on easy loader.
He's preparing for the future.
I'd be able to load up my hives in 2 minutes.
Wouldn't that be nice? More time for everything else. Easy loader.
Yeah.
It's for everyone.
Yeah.
Yeah, why? Guess in the description what it is, guys. Brian, give them a few minutes to guess if they want to.
Yeah,
see if they can figure it out.
And how about the winner? Whoever guesses what we got to give them something, Brian. I've got a bunch of things here we give away. What should we give away? How about let's see. How about a
which is it?
I don't know. How about a Varroa Easy Check Mite Wash Cup?
Sure.
You want to jump on it? It's strong. A lot of good guesses in here, Brian.
Yeah.
Cool.
And then if you happen to get a bunch of guesses that are right, I guess good luck. We should have thought about this one out before we just
exactly. Yeah.
Yeah, we got. I mean,
I got
we've got
some.
I've seen the item in here, but I can't. I'm not gonna say what it
Yeah.
is. Man, there's a lot of good ones.
I got that, and then so I'm talking to the world famous Mike Berry, and
I haven't talked to him forever.
I got him on. It seems like I got him on.
I miss that fellow. We used to see him all the time.
I know. Well, it's because he's world famous. He's taking it up a notch.
We'll have to get him back on here sometime.
I've got. I have a package about that big around. There's a package with 500 straws sitting downstairs.
Oh, so, straws like for as in
artificial insemination for cows?
Exactly. Yes. Yes.
Brian's
hey, this is a beekeeping chat, guys. We can just don't.
Oh, that's right. We can only talk about beekeeping and nothing but beekeeping here. My apologies.
I decided that I was going to stop beekeeping actually and start artificial insemination on cows.
Hey.
How many could you fit in your backyard there, Brian? Put a fence up back there.
I can get a couple. Okay. Oh yeah.
Build your small herd there.
Yeah.
Well, great. Well, here's what I propose we do before we move on to Greg. Greg, you said you want to give away something here. We can go ahead and get these early birds a little something like Brian. Should we say what it is and let people put in a hashtag and spin it? Because several people guessed what it was.
Yeah.
What do you want to do?
Let me. Yeah. Here, let's do this. Let's go.
Here, while you figure, let me go grab one while you figure that out.
That was not planned, but I think it's going to be fun.
I think I have it right. Let me throw it up here. Hashtag.
Hashtag
this right here is funny. Hashtag Brian 20 cows.
Brian is a 20 cow beekeeper. You're a 20 cow beekeeper, Brian.
Oh, that's hilarious. Pow.
All right. Hashtag heated bottling tank. Make sure you spell it right.
Doozy.
That is. That's going to, everybody make sure you spell it right so it'll go into the system. But if you want to, you're not going to win a heated bottling tank here. So don't. That's just what Brian purchased. That's what he's got that he's going to pick up this year for I guess next year, right, Brian? So anyway, type it in there, put it in there, and then Greg is going to get a prize. Greg, it's a what'd you say it was, a Varroa Easy Check system? Is that what you're giving away?
Yeah.
So Brian, Greg, you're giving away a Varroa Easy Check system. Is that what you're doing?
Yeah. We've got them here in the shop, available on the website, nature'simagefarm.com. Let's give one away. A Varroa Easy Check. Why guess when you can know what your mite counts are?
Exactly.
Right. That's right.
Exactly.
I will say I've got some things to show off here in a little bit. Some packages I've received, and that, Greg has a great place up there. I know people order stuff from different places, but after going and walking through the store a couple of weekends ago, anything, just about, most anything you need, basic needs for beekeeping, he's got it. And he's, prices are very competitive and great. And of course, Greg gives great customer service. So go to the website and just check it out. See if there's anything you want. We've got, how many do we have on here? We've got how many? I can't see what the number is.
134.
Yeah, but I'm talking about how many for the spin.
Oh.
Looks like I missed it. It wasn't an easy loader.
No.
He's got about $100,000 to save before he can get that, or whatever those things cost,
right?
Or $50,000.
Heated bottling tank.
I need to sell.
Moving on up.
I need to sell 10,000 jars of honey.
Okay, so Brian, before we spin, while people are still putting that in there, what did you get? What kind did you get?
I got it. It's the Hilco, 19 gallon, and it's got that fancy old valve on it.
The no drip valve.
Yeah.
With the heated jacket, right?
Yep.
So go ahead.
Everybody will see a video when I get the darn thing, but let me just tell you. So people are probably just going to be like, you're going to cringe. When I told Mike Berry how I bought all my honey, he just started laughing. That's all he could do. He just laughed. I
would laugh at you too, but I'm trying to be polite with the way,
So
is it a 5-gallon bucket in a funnel or over top of a jar?
Yes.
See,
man. Hey, you just got to get it done any way you can, though, right? Get it done the best way you can.
Whatever it takes. Whatever it takes.
I'm no good with that. The honey gate that's on them.
Yeah, no doubt.
So
it leaks.
How I fill my honey jars is I ladle.
What?
Yep. Yeah, we did that. We used a measuring cup for the first couple of years. We used a measuring cup and just filled up jars that way.
Brian,
then
we bottled a good amount of honey this year.
It took me 5 hours to bottle honey to get ready for that first market.
Oh my gosh, Brian! It'll take you.
Right
you can do 100 bottles in this heated bottle and take you to 100 bottles like in 30 minutes or less, probably, and maybe 20 minutes, whatever.
That's why the world famous Mike Berry laughed at me for probably I don't know how long.
Yeah.
So.
Well, it's good to do however you can get it done, but as you grow, it definitely can help to get move up into more advanced type products. Well, why don't we go ahead and spin this? Why don't we go ahead and spin this and see who wins?
Let's see. I mean, we could do #ladle honey.
Brian Walkinspaw.
There we go. That's a great name. Brian, awesome. Congrats.
Yes, sir. Congrats,
that's awesome. Oh, I know the Walkinspaws. They're here locally, so.
Okay.
Can you guys hear me? Looks like my camera. What's going
on? Yeah, we got you. We can definitely hear you.
Your browser has lost connection to your camera. Make sure you have the right camera selected.
Well, I mean, Greg, looking at your big old mug on there, my screen was starting to crack anyways, so.
Well, that's okay. I don't know if I can start cam. What's this button do?
There you are. We got you.
Well, there's that.
We just had you on there for a second.
Now I see GoPro. Look at that.
Anyway, so
looking better and better. Bruce, tell us about what's new with you, and I'll see if I can.
Okay, we can go ahead and do that since you're having some technical difficulties there. Well, man, it's been like we talked about a couple of Stream Team chats ago. Last time I was on my channel. I was really dealing with a fair amount of burnout and just kind of went almost really a month without doing hardly anything with the bees. I did some oxalic acid treatments on a few hives, but really didn't break hives open to speak of for 4 or 5 weeks or more. I think it's about a month. I got the Apivar treatments on and just kind of let them chill for a while. We had that stream a couple of weeks ago talking about burnout, and then I went up for the field day creator convergence at your place and kind of got rejuvenated up there, meeting a lot of the community and just kind of hanging out with some folks. And although I was exhausted and didn't feel very well I kind of got a little bit sick last week. It had nothing to do with that, but I've been feeling a little bit off for a little while, but I actually really gotten rejuvenated. I went out, I kind of been feeding the bees a little bit and getting in them, and they're doing well. So, the best therapy for me is just to go out and crack open a few hives. And that's what I did. And so I'm kind of excited. I'm hoping to have Eric, a Spirit of Toad, is maybe going to, I think we're talking, he may come and help me out a little bit Friday with my bees, or at least come and kind of hang out with me a little bit. And he's been wanting to come and check out the bees. And so I said, well, hey, I mean, I'm not gonna be doing anything crazy Friday, but he can come and just kind of hang out with me a little bit. It'd be nice to meet him in person. I think I met him a few years ago at an event just briefly, but I didn't really know who he was at that time. And we really didn't know each other. So it'll be nice to actually be able to hang out with him for a little while and get to know him a little bit and let him hopefully peek in on my bees. Hopefully they'll be doing as good as I think they're doing. So I've really become a fan of a couple of things. I've been feeding them sugar water, sugar syrup, and Jason, who talks about my last video, it talks about how I was feeding them. Now that was the week before I came up for this field day up there. And so that video was filmed then. Last weekend was the week after this past weekend was, and the bees looked better already. I didn't really go through them much, but the ones that I have fed, there was just more population in there and they just looked healthier. And so I used the rest of my Hive Alive syrup supplement. And so I ordered this. That's 10 liters. So now I'm set for a long time. So for me to order that, I had to be all in on it. So I'm going to give that a try here for probably the next year or two. And I'm just really impressed. The more I've I've reached out to Hive Alive, and it's David, I think, there has reached back to me and answered any questions I have.
Mm-hmm.
And so I'm kind of a believer in it. And I've never really thought, honestly, that supplements were that big of a deal in the past. Not that I've been against them. I just haven't used them that much. I have a little bit. But I'm pretty, I've been impressed with how it makes the bees, how they seem to do on it. And so we're going to give it a shot. They swear by it. It's one of the, people use it all over the world. And so this is what I'm trying now. I know there's other things out there, but I'm going to try the Hive Alive for a while. I know you guys are both fans and have been using it, and I've been using it a little bit. I've used the fondant quite a bit, but I've really just haven't used the certain much until just recently. It is, I'm just kind of cheap in sugar right now. My gosh, sugar's way expensive. And so,
yeah.
But I did find a deal at a Harbor Freight at Rural King here in Alabama. It was $5.99 for 10 pounds, so basically 60 cents a pound, which seems like a lot, but compared to everywhere else, it was an amazing price. So I bought quite a bit of it. I need to go buy some more before the end of the month. The deal's good through the 30th. So I've been feeding and checking on them, and this week I'm gonna go up to Ozark and really go through them, remove any Apivar. We're a little bit late on that, but I think it's okay. Just a couple, I think we might be right at that top end of the days that we need to have Apivar in there. I really just kind of go through the hives, look at them closely. And if Eric comes out, it'll be a lot of fun if he can kind of hang out with me and we can just go through them. And then, I'll probably throw some feed to him, and Greg, I don't know if I should tell him, but I do have a few queens coming. So I found out, Greg, I don't know if I told you this, but I was going through them last weekend, just peeking in, and I found a couple that those queens have got to go. So they were some of the ones that had been feisty, and I moved the original colony away, and they became puppy dogs for a little while. So I'm like, well, maybe they're not that bad. Well, now they've had a chance to grow back into full strength colonies, and they're just like they were when they were up in the other spot before I made those splits back in late July. So those queens are going to be replaced. Hopefully, me and Eric will be able to find those queens and replace them. And any other weak queens, we may bust out a couple of splits. I don't have just a few queens coming, not very many. But I'm really trying to get that Ozark yard to be some really good genetics, both for attitude and productivity, combining Michael Palmer queens with the Nature's Image Farm queens and the best of what I have around here. And that's kind of my goal, to do that. And so that's kind of where I'm at right now. I'm pretty excited about what's coming up in the future. I've talked to Greg, Brian, you too, but Greg quite extensively about just maybe not worrying about having so many colonies and growing so much as just improving my quality. Mm-hmm. And we'll probably talk about this more as the year goes on, but I'm going to just try to kind of stay at the number I have, maybe increase a little bit, but get that Ozark yard really where I want it to be, and then maybe start making my own queens and getting my own stock out to my other out yards and just growing it until I really have a good stock. That's really what I'm looking for. I'm just trying to be a better beekeeper and have better bees. Not that my bees are bad, but I'm just trying to improve, always trying to get better. So that's kind of what I've been up to in 10 minutes or less.
Yeah. Hey, can I, you mentioned some words there that I love the stuff. I just want to let people know. So sugar prices are like you said, Bruce, they're through the roof, right? So you mix Hive Alive with your sugar syrup and it won't go bad.
Absolutely. That's one thing I've noticed. Yeah, for sure.
And then I do want to let people know also, and this is going to be a huge thing, and I plan on doing this. It's not that I just want to talk about different products or whatever, but Hive Alive just increased the size of their fondant. They have their 2.2 pound like they did, but now they have a 5 pound package that's available. Because like a lot of people like me last year, each of my colonies went through 2. So I'm like, why worry about that now when I can throw a 5 pound fondant cake on there? So, yeah.
Anyway, Greg, why don't we go on and tell us what's going on in your neck of the woods? I know that we talked quite a bit when we were up there, and I know a lot of the stuff has kind of slowed down a little bit, but I'm sure you have plenty to do still right now.
Yeah, it's an interesting time of year because we are at the very beginning of nature's grand finale. All the colors are really starting to pop. The reds are showing up. The maples are turning. The dogwoods are already like they're on fire. The red, the A goldenrod is just a glorious golden just sea as far as you can see, and it really puts you in mind of if you've waited until now to get a grip on things, you just feel like you're just watching the ship sail away and you're not swimming for it. So there's a lot of things. One of the challenges here is we've got so many irons in the fire. It gets to be a little challenging to tend to all of them. And so I think one of the things that we're really got to take a look at is where are we going to put most of our effort next year? We only have so much time and energy and talents and availability. What does that look like for next year? Where is the most amount of positive change that we can make? Where is the things that make the most sense to put our efforts into? And so you get to a point where this time of year where it's just there's this uncomfortable brain friction constantly going on where everything is rubbing up against itself, and you just have to spend the time to kind of dig through and work through it all. And so it puts us in a place here where 500 colonies, 5,000 queens. 5,000 queens feels more doable than maintaining 500 colonies. But if I was just doing colonies, 500 colonies would be no big deal. And if it was just queens and the queens, that wouldn't be no big. And if we weren't doing supplies, 500 queens or 5,000 queens and 500 colonies, no big deal. But as the supply line continues to grow, it is taking an enormous amount of time. Right now we've got a lot of orders in, products that we'll be receiving here, including the Hive Alive fondant with those different available sizes. I mean, it's nice. We sold a lot of product that was the 2.2 pounds last year, but the 5-pounders make a lot of sense because most folks, they say, well, how many should I buy? And I said, you really need to budget on 2 to 3 a year. That's about what they go through. And then so Hive Alive came out with the perfect size, I think. Now, some folks, you might not want a full 5-pounder. You may want just to put a 2.2 pounder on and kind of creep up on them. And you can still do that too. Or if you've got a smaller colony, like a nuke's probably not going to go through 5 pounds. They'll go through 2 pounds. They might go through 4. So I like it because there's some options. So there's so many. I'll get lost in the weeds if I go too far down that road. But there are so many manufacturers that we're working with, so many different product lines that we're prepping and getting ready for next year. And it just takes a lot of bandwidth to do all that. Trying to get some videos out, get some short videos out, keep the podcast feed moving forward, making sure orders are getting shipped out daily, answering phone calls and emails. Oh yeah, and then there's the bees, and then that's a whole separate kind of a thing. But it's we enjoy it. This is what we feel like we are called to do. And so while it might not be easy and we don't have all the answers, we're taking one step at a time. But it makes it a lot easier when we've got a great customer base, great folks to work with, and great products to work with. Products that we believe in, products that we use ourselves, products that have a track history. They've got a track record. It's easy. That part is. So anyways, Bruce, there's a lot going on that front. Last night had the honor of speaking down in Boaz, West Virginia at the Mid-Ohio Valley Beekeepers Association. Talk about what a great group, packed house. It was a lot of fun because, sometimes I think when I looked earlier, not counting all the learning yard speaking engagements, just all across the country this year, we've had 12 different speaking engagements, and every single one of those are special. They all look different. It's a little bit different of a venue. Some are large conferences, some are smaller clubs. And what I love is getting to just meet the people and figure out where are they with their beekeeping and what can I do to help enrich that. And it was pretty cool. This last night was at a neat place, a Lions Club, over just across the river in West Virginia. And it was a lot of fun because it wasn't one of those fancy presentations, PowerPoints, that we do. It was bring the equipment here and do a hands-on, show folks kind of how to apply all these things. And they're just great folks. So anyways, I could go on all night about them. Looks like my camera keeps biting the dust there, so I'm not sure what that's about. But anyways, if you are in the mid-Ohio Valley area, anywhere around an hour's drive of like Caldwell, Ohio, and that area there's a great bee club. You can go to their website and think about joining that club. It's movba.org, Mid-Ohio Valley Beekeepers Association. A lot of great folks in there. So yeah, and long story short, Bruce, I can't really even wrap my head around where we are at with things right now, and that's what we're got to spend the next. We've got a couple days set aside for just strategy, planning, figuring out where we are. We talked about not too long ago, Bruce, where whether it's burnout or anything else, you got to spend a little bit of time to detach from the situation. You have to be able to reassess where you are, put a plan together, and then re-engage. And so that's exactly where we're at this time of year. Brian's showing me a GoPro 12.
Yes, but hang on one second. Watch this. When I turn it on, you'll notice something. Look at that. There was no beeping.
I was about to say no beeping.
That is nice. No beeping.
Huh? No beeping. See?
Yeah.
I had to do that just to show Yappy because he was, bragging, sending pictures of his.
I'm going to try to get my camera going again. But I tell you what, let's see. In the meantime, there's a couple more things I want to give away tonight before we get. I know we can't stay on here forever tonight, but can you guys let's see. I'm going to work on getting my camera set up. You guys, take it away for a little bit.
You didn't give away your camera the last giveaway, did you?
I'm not sure what's going on with this thing.
Yeah.
I'll fill you in a little bit here on the I guess real quick as far as the bees go. Sorry, because my brain is it's locked in one direction right now.
That's okay.
But
hey,
yeah,
go ahead. While you're working on that, Greg, I thought we could maybe recognize a couple of starred comments here. First of all, I'd like to do a big shout out to Triple CR Apiary for the $10 super chat. We appreciate that. Also, Connor over in Israel for the $20 super chat over there. Thanks so much for tuning in. I think it's very early in the morning over there, as in before sunup for sure. If I'm not mistaken, Connor, correct me there. From my Brown and Daughters Honey. He's got an interesting channel, guys. If you get a chance to go check it out, he's got some, beekeeping is beekeeping, but in Israel, it's a little different. The products are a little bit different. Some of the things he's doing, and just a kind of a cool channel. So he's doing some cool things over there. And so that would be great. I appreciate those super stickers, guys. And we've had some other starred questions, but we'll kind of wait until Greg gets back on here, hopefully. Kenneth, let's see what we got. I'm trying to handle the technology here. Yeah, Kenneth, thanks for the $10 super chat. Really appreciate that. It means a lot. We do, as you know, anyone who's on here who is a creator, or you've met us or other folks that are trying to be a creator on social media, YouTube, or even just in a sense, all of us beekeepers are in that category. It just takes a lot of work and effort, and any of these, anything helps. We'd really appreciate it. So.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
Greg, you can hear us, can't you? You can hear us, can't you, Greg?
Yep. I can. Okay. I can hear you, Kenny Bach, and the last super chat there. Yeah, it was Witten's Creek Bees. They're part of the club that we were at last night. Great folks. So I want to give a special shout out to them as well.
Hebrews Marty from Hebrews Honeys says, "Can you share his channel? Are you talking about Connor's channel? It's the Brown. Let's see, it's Brown and Daughters Apiary, I think it's called. Brown and Daughters Honey. Brown and Daughters Honey. He'll share it for you there in the comments or in the chat. We got Greg back.
Sorry about that.
So we've got a few, I think, giveaways. I've got one I'm working on as well. That'll be a really nice one here in a little bit. We'll do that a little bit later during the chat. So just appreciate, I just appreciate everyone being on here tonight and all the support you guys give us.
There you go.
There
That's
it is.
the link right there. Yep.
So, Greg, did you have something you wanted to do now, or should we move on?
Well, yeah,
to the
real
next?
quick. I just wanted to, I'd hate for us not to talk about bees all night, but so as far as like a bee update, Jake and I today, one of the cool things, it seems like the farmyard here, the bees themselves, it's turning into a lot of trialing. There's a lot of trials going on right now with different products, and one of them we just I probably can't talk too much quite about it yet, but we're trialing 4 different products through a bunch of these colonies here, and it's going to be interesting to see what the bees choose in these scenarios here. And I know I've got to speak in a little bit of vagaries tonight, but I did want to mention it's easy for us to kind of get stuck in a product or a certain thing that we do that we like, whether we understand why it works or if it works, we can get a little biased to it. And so here, because what's on the shelf is what we use and what we can speak to, it's important for us to be continually trialing things and giving things a fair shake to see kind of how what the bees do with it, and see if there's other opportunities for us to do better or have other options. And so right now it's a lot of fun. So Jake and I went just before we jumped on here and got one of these trials, another trial underway, and that's pretty neat. We've been really kind of just fine tuning and taking care of looking at what's our mite picture look like and what are we doing about it. For us, it's important to keep in mind that if we're if we have an integrated pest management, that practice for us looks like, well, we've got to be able to find a way to create a baseline that we understand where we're at with mites, but also use a product that is successful and that we know is going to be successful, and something that we actually have a track record and a history with, just so we can continue to move things in a positive direction. We're kind of, while we can trial things in small numbers, 50 colonies or less, we're not in a position to risk what we're doing as far as the bees' health for the rest of the winter on anything that we don't have that history, trials, or track record with. So it puts us in an interesting place where there are new products out there and available to try to find a place or a way to trial something. It's one thing to put a new product on 1 or 2 or 3 colonies. I don't know that that's enough. I think you've got to have 30, 40, 50 plus colonies to start to get a really good idea of, okay, here is what I'm kind of seeing. And so we'll see what happens. There's a lot of trials going on right now. I'm looking forward to sharing more on that a little bit later. But right now, the name of the game is there's nothing you're going to do now to make up for what you haven't done for your bees already. And so right now, it's just kind of just moving them a little bit further in that direction. But it's really hard you're not going to change the course, the direction of these bees if you haven't already put them into a place where they're going to be successful for winter, at least in my opinion right now. So
it's true. Very, very true. Yeah.
So I'd like to take, Greg's having issues. We got David Burns on here. Good to see you there, David.
Well,
I'd like to, I kind of want to do a little bit of show and tell. And Greg, I'm going to go ahead and dive into this. I know you can see what we're doing there while you get that fixed. But, we had the convergence up there, about 10 days ago up in you guys' neck of the woods up at Greg's place.
mm-hmm.
And I wanted to show a couple of things that I thought were really cool. I believe the guy's name was it Spanky that brought some products up there for us.
Yeah.
Stuff. I've got so Spanky. I've seen him on some of Bob's chats. I know he's got a channel. Do you know what the name of his channel is, Brian?
Filament Corner.
And he's a young guy. He's super cool, but he was on that chat that we did at Greg's house, at Greg's place that day. He was on part of that live chat that morning. Go back and watch it. But he made us each a special clock, and this is the one I got. Each was a little different. And this is the one that I ended up here. I got a couple boxes from Greg, so I got some show and tell stuff to do. And so thought that was pretty cool. And Brian's got one and Greg has one as well. They're all a little bit different. They were all kind of customized. He also sent us he made this and put it in a frame. It says "Be the Lighthouse." It's really cool.
It's awesome.
Each of us has one of those, and I think I might hang these up on the wall back here behind, in this bedroom / studio here. I may hang them up there so that you can see them in the background, maybe. And then he also made some little pins and some different things, little keychains and pins here. We might be giving some of those away in the future, possibly. Got a few. I think we each have a few of those.
Oh yeah, yeah.
And then Greg made something I thought was really cool. That it's in the box here. It's pretty cool. So,
That's awesome.
And
that is awesome.
He wrote a nice note on the back too, personalized to me, and I appreciate that, Greg.
Yeah, that's awesome.
And then, so that's kind of some stuff I thought to kind of wrap up a little bit about the convergence. I know we talked about it most of the chat last week, but it was just a good experience. And I think the point that we'd all like to make is just how much we appreciate this community.
Yeah.
Obviously we talk about bees, and it's, as Greg says, so profoundly and so often, the bees are the conduit to the people.
Yeah.
And so, yes, we love the bees and we want to talk about the bees, but it's also, there's a bigger cause involved. It is about the bees, but also the community. And as we mentioned several times up there a few days ago, the raising, what is it? A rising tide lifts all boats, or something like that.
That's right.
And so as we all work together to grow and to get better at what we're doing and share what we do, we can all improve and get better at what we're doing. That's all we're trying to do, is establish a community for folks to come, and a forum to come and have questions and discuss things, and also to develop a friendship and a brotherhood. And it's, I guess, it's a fellowship with each other. And that was a really great testament of that a few weeks ago. But we also experienced at the conferences we go to, and just right here in this chat, we had the same feeling, the same vibe, and we do appreciate that. So
yeah.
Also included in those boxes were a few things Greg sent me, and I wanted to show those off a little bit. I've been getting all kinds. It's been like, I told Greg, it's been like Christmas, all these packages arriving. But first of all, I did order the hive alive. I showed you all that earlier in case you weren't on here. Big old, that's good for like 1,000 colonies, so that'll last me for a while.
Bruce, there's enough in there though that you should, and I would do this just for the sake of the audience. I would taste test it just to make sure.
No, I'm not going to do that. I'm not. I've seen the effect it had on you guys, and also John Hill at Hilco. I'm not going to go through that.
You'll start talking like a Yankee if you drink that, though.
I might. I don't want to do that. That would be horrible. Anyway, he sent me a Roy Easy Check. We got a bucket feeder, Greg. It's a 2-gallon, isn't it?
Wow.
2-gallon bucket feeder.
2-gallon.
Really nice.
Yep.
I appreciate that. And I
Bruce,
thought
you'd
maybe
take a sip of that hive alive, and you'd set it down, and you'd go, "OH."
No, it would take a lot more than that for me to ever say that. So anyway, we got a double stream bottom board.
Oh, nice.
And I've always wanted to try these. I was going to make some, but now I have a few of these, and so I think 3 of those.
Awesome.
I'm just show and tell Christmas here. It's like Christmas, and then I got the lid with the patty rim and the hole cut for the
nice.
The bucket feeders. These are all products that Greg has up at his place up there, though, and I also have a 10-pack of Formic Pro. But I thought we'd just do another, and there's a purpose for all this. In the bucket feeder was also a brochure from Guardian Bee Apparel.
Oh.
And so you might know where this is going. I reached out to Terry Chapman from Guardian Bee Apparel, and he has graciously agreed to basically give away a bee suit from Guardian Bee Apparel, which is a value, I think, of $229. Terry, if I'm wrong, just let me know. So, yeah, he said, basically the way it's going to work, how do you want to do this? Put in hashtag Guardian. Does that sound good? Put in hashtag Guardian. And the value of that is $229. So you go in there with that code, and what he says is, let's see, the coupon works till the end of the year. It says, spend more or less, but $229 is covered. We have a production run coming off next week. It will be free with free shipping. So this is a really good value, guys. I know a lot of people love this Guardian stuff. I love my Guardian stuff. And so type it in here, and it'll be good. That way you can order directly from him with the code that we send in the winter, and get whatever size you need, whatever equipment you want. But it's a value of $229.
I almost want to type it in too.
I know. Let me tell you something about Guardian, y'all. I like the Guardian pullover jacket. Most people don't use that, but I haven't seen a lot of those, but that's what I like. It just pulls on really easy and off really easy. It has the same bell that you can open and close. But when I was at Hive at the conference a while back, I ended up coming home with a pair of the Guardian bee pants that go along with that jacket. And I'd never worn them. I thought, why do I need pants? I can just wear jeans out there. And you guys have seen how my bees historically have been a little bit crazy. And I've had thousands of stingers in those pants before, my jeans that I wear. And so I finally started I put on those pants one day and no stings in my pants, obviously, because I had on the bee pants, right? And so I got a little braver recently and I've started wearing shorts with the Guardian bee pants over the shorts. And literally, that is a game changer. It's so much cooler. I've even like this past weekend, I weeded it around some colonies and, and trimmed up, just really had the bees stirred up with the weed eater. And they weren't able to get me because of those bee pants. And so, if you've got a bee jacket, it might be a good idea to get you a pair of the ventilated bee pants as well. Those things work really well. I'm not sure why I didn't try them. I didn't try them at a time or two until this, but the last few times I've been out, I've just worn my shorts with my bee pants, with my Guardian bee pants. They work well. Now, you do have to make sure you have on, boots or something down there, because if you just have on your tennis shoes and your shorts, they can still get up and get your ankles pretty good. So I wear my work boots. It looks a little funny, but it works. So anyway, shorts and Crocs. I know that's Brian's bee uniform. That's also what they use up there at University of Guelph, I think, but my bees aren't to that point yet. So
yeah,
man, we're getting a lot of folks.
102. Yeah.
We'll let it roll a little bit longer. Guys, give it another minute or two. Throw in Guardian, #Guardian, if you want to have a chance at a $229 value from Guardian Bee Apparel.
What you're telling us, Bruce, is next year when we're going to see videos coming from Bruce's Bees, we potentially will see you in shorts and a t-shirt and just like a veil on.
Potentially. That's potential. There's all kinds of potential out there. All right, what are we at now, Brian?
105.
105. Let's get to 120 and we'll spin.
I tell you guys, we've been blessed with the opportunity to work with any manufacturer that we want to here in the shop. And when we were looking at, all the available bee suits and protective wear that's out there, who are we going to choose to represent here at the shop, knowing that it's something that we have to believe in. It's got good customer service. That's a good product. But more importantly, somebody that is actually also in this for the people. When I looked at all that criteria, there was only one person that came to mind for us, and that was Terry Chapman at Guardian. Him and his family are doing an outstanding job at Guardian. And so for us, it's an honor to have right back here everything on the shelf here, all the bee suits, jackets, and gloves, Guardian Bee Apparel. And what I like about that is folks in this area can come here, try it on, get a good fit, make sure it's for them. And being the first distributor for Guardian, it sure was an honor to be able to have that here and have them a part of not only this community, but a part of our story as our farm supply shop grows. So a big hat tip to all the folks there at Guardian.
Great. Well, let's spin it, Brian, and then we can get on to talking about bees.
Yeah. Is there a way that I can just have this thing land on Castle Hives?
Curtis Smith. Awesome.
Congratulations.
Okay, Curtis, send me an email and I will shoot you the code to be able to use at checkout when you order your attire. Email is brucejenne, BruceJenne @gmail.com. Brian, can you put it in there so you can see it? Once again, send me an email, brucejenne, BruceJenne @gmail.com. And I'll try and get that out to you in the next day or two. We appreciate that, Terry. That means a lot, I'm sure. And I know a lot of folks here in the comments, actually, I've seen them in their videos and a lot of them are wearing that apparel. But anyway, there's good stuff out there, but this pretty much what I've used now for probably 3 years, I think, or so. And I've been impressed with it the whole time. All right, guys. Well, hey, let's go to answer a couple of these questions we had up here. We got it here in the comment. Let's go with the first one.
Hot mess.
How's the flow your way? Non-existent here. And
Yeah.
NKY honeybees. Is that North Kentucky? Is that what that means? I guess.
Yeah,
Sure
he is just south of Cincinnati, so just across the border into Kentucky, so around Florence, Kentucky. And it's surprising that they have no flow down there.
Yeah.
So,
well, I don't know. Yeah, here we have been in somewhat of a dearth, but I think they've been bringing in just a little bit. They've been bringing in enough to kind of maintain, except for, certain areas have been pretty good. It's weird how within like a 20 or 30 mile diameter or radius, you can have a pretty decent little trickle or flow coming in, and then you go a few miles and there's just nothing. It's just crazy how that works. And so some of my bee yards are heavy. The hives are good and heavy, and some of them just basically were on starvation level if you saw my feeding video or the video right before my feeding video. And so it's just crazy how that happens. Here in Alabama, in my area, there's a lot of cotton around, and if you're close to a cotton field that is producing, if it's rained enough or if it's irrigated, they do really well on cotton. Now, I've had it right on the edge of cotton fields before, but this year all my bees are quite, pretty good distance away. And so I think it's safer, but those bees are heavy. They're doing great. And the ones that are not close to cotton some of them are near starvation. And believe it or not, our goldenrod has been trying to turn yellow now for about 2 or 3 weeks. And it's just now we're starting to see some actual yellow. It's been so slow to turn. It's been crazy. So I don't know if we're going to get much of a goldenrod flow or not. Greg, I know that you were talking to me about the different types of goldenrod up there. Is it true? I've heard recently somebody told me that if you get a nice rain, a certain amount of inches of rain, about 30 days before the goldenrod actually blooms, that you're going to have pretty good flow. Is that true, or does it need to rain? How does that work as far as what's been your experience with your goldenrod flow, or have you noticed any of that? Does the rain timing matter?
I think it does. What I can tell you about this year is I think there's a lot more to it. We started having goldenrod come up early, it seemed. And then it's just been like here, just taunting us for the last 4 weeks. When you really start to smell in the morning, it sort of has, and there's a difference in smell of goldenrod. When you really first start to notice it, you can really start to assume they're bringing some of that nectar in. We're starting to see pollen come in really hot and heavy. Primarily, Jake and I are using queen excluders at our entrances just to collect late drones so we can capture their semen for insemination for some late rounds here. And so the reason I bring that up is when you put an excluder over the entrance, I was not expecting to see this, but I'm talking just 9 out of 10 bees are flying in as fast as they can with different shades of orange pollen coming in. And so what I'm noticing is I wish it was just as easy as saying you need this much rain, this time, this interval away, and then the plant produces. There is science to that. However, if we chose to not feed our bees starting a couple weeks ago and just banked on the goldenrod, we would have been in very rough shape. Today we went out, and I kind of have to be vague on some of these details until we get the trial finished and filmed. But there are some colonies that are all about equal strengths, and some of them have sucked down a 2-gallon bucket of ProSweet. Some of them haven't touched it. And the configurations of the boxes are like they're pretty close. Some of them had a queen, a recent queen, so they're in a little different brood cycles. Why does all that matter? Well, there is some flow out there, but there's not enough of a flow to where they're saying we don't want feed. And so the reason that that's important is if you're not on point with your feeding regimen, both syrup and protein as far as patties go, those bees may be lacking a little bit. So, Bruce, to get back to the question, what is it about Goldenrod that causes it to pump and pull and push and win and all the timing? I wish I knew. What I can tell you is it's been extremely dry, very dry. We're getting some evening rains, which helps, but Goldenrod is a heavier pollen anyways. It's not really that much of a windborne pollen. It's really, really heavy. And so I don't think it's quite as effective at rains when they do come. What I can say is, without knowing the science of goldenrod, what I can tell you is that the smell of it is different in the morning than it is in the evening. Midday, there's not a lot of it. It seems when we had folks here um, this past Saturday, our farm was a part of the Muskingum County Soil and Water. It's kind of like one of those UTV crawls where a bunch of side by sides, they cruise through the entire county and they go visit different farms. And our farm was on one of those stops. And so we're kind of talking to folks about what we do, why we do. We took them on a beautiful trail ride all the way down through the woods, a couple creek crossings, come back up through the big goldenrod pasture. And as I'm talking to them, the first group was like, I don't know, 11:45 or so. And so by the time, we got up there to the top of the hill and all that, it might've been 12 o'clock. And I'm telling them, I want you guys to, and each group was like maybe 30 or 40 folks each time. And so you were sitting there, I'm telling you, just listen and look, and you could start to hear the goldenrod wake up. And then I said, here in about an hour is going to be an ocean of bees. Well, the next group came in just after that. And as I'm saying, just wait and watch, it was just like a light switch went off. And then all the bees started coming to the goldenrod. Well, why is that? Well, because that plant produces and it's open for business at the right time of day. And different sources, nectar and pollen, are available at different times of the day, even on the same plant. So what is the mechanism that does that? I don't know. But what I can say is, just observationally, you can see that, because you can see the bees when they're working those plants. And then more importantly, you can smell that really fresh oncoming smell of goldenrod. And in the morning, it's been more of a buttery butterscotch, which is sort of nice. And then by the evening time, when you smell it again, it's that buttery butterscotch has gone to wet dog gym sock kind of a thing. But I don't know, Bruce. I don't have all the answers to that, but I can look and see,
Yeah, that is interesting about the flower cycle, though, because I think a lot of flowers do that. You hit them at certain times of the day and the bees will be all over it, and then other times of the day, maybe not. And I was not aware that they collect different sources, like the pollen at one time of the day and the nectar at others. But I think the flowers are probably doing all it can just to keep the bees on it. They're doing just offering different food sources, so the bees will come and do their thing. And so that's pretty neat.
It's not as bulletproof as you think. In years past, it seemed as though the goldenrod was more productive. Right now, I'm like, in some years you could bank on a super, maybe two of it. And right now, like we were just going through some boxes, it's just not quite enough. If there's not feed on there, I'd be real worried. Here in the comments, David Burns has a great comment there. Says, same here, Greg. We have so much goldenrod in Illinois, but bees will still starve. So
yeah,
and there's
we had
so much to it.
I think goldenrod, at least down here, is really hit or miss. Like I think it was 3 years ago, maybe 2 or 3 years ago, man, we just had every single flow hit really good. Like the fall flow, the bees, I mean, everything was really good. And then some years it's almost like they bring nothing in the fall. So I'm not sure. That's kind of interesting as well. I thought a good follow-up question, and maybe this would be good for both of you guys, would be, it's the most recent question that I starred here. What can I do with half-filled frames of nectar to consolidate for winter? That basically piggybacks on the, what if your box doesn't fill up with goldenrod? So what do you guys recommend if you don't have, half-filled frames, if they're not full? Like, what do you do? How do you manage that?
Brian, what do you do?
I just try and save it. But I mean, so first thing that I'll do before I even decide, well, am I going to throw it on my rack and save it versus extracting it, is the old shake test. And if it's half filled and I still give it a couple, like good solid shakes and nothing comes out, I spin it. So I'll still check, though, when I spin frames like that, you know, you got to make sure you get a refractometer and just check your moisture. But I just do that shake test, and if it ends up where I have some that rains out, I throw it up on my frame racks, and I just save it for them whenever they need it. If I need to supplement a colony at any time, I throw those in. I'll just swap it out.
Well,
So,
you're storing nectar or food.
I'll throw it in there, but like
How
I mean,
are
in the
you
winter,
storing
man,
it?
I have those open air racks.
And they don't get robbed out by anything.
There's nothing in that building.
Oh, it's in the building.
Yeah,
I see.
yeah. It's
Right.
in that building where I put them, and I think you saw it. Yeah, but
That's
now
right.
a lot
yeah,
of times,
yeah.
a lot of times, what I'll do is I'll toss those in, and the key when I toss those in is I have to remember to swap them out at some point because
And leave the door closed.
No, but when I put those like medium frames in colonies, it's always key to remember where you put those, because then
Right.
you end up, when you're
Drone
going through
underneath.
colonies,
Yeah.
then right. I ended up in one colony, I forgot that I put 2 frames like that in, and I had that huge chunk of comb that they built out on the bottom. And when I pulled it up, I looked and I thought, well, here's where they are. So
I'm getting a little grumpy with all that, I think. Or maybe grumpy's not the word. I am learning to make very quick decisions and not think twice. Today we're out getting. God, I hate that I have to keep dancing around this thing, because I just want to. We're out getting a trial started, and as we're going through, and I'm going through all these colonies here, especially, well, gosh, I need this thing to be over and done with so I can talk about it and quit dancing around a couple of these things.
What?
And we're cracking lids, looking at bee numbers to make sure there's going to be an adequate amount of bees in the colonies to perform the trials that we need them to perform. And as we're doing that, and I crack a lid, and I've got a super, and I think that this goes to the question at hand: what do you do with those supers this time of year if there's three frames or 4 frames smack dab right in the middle? And there's some bees on there, and there's some open nectar. Man, there's a little bit of this, and there's a little bit of that. Here's what I'll tell you what I do. I'm not saying this is the right answer. I'm not telling you it's the wrong answer either. I just don't even play around anymore. Like, I just do not play. Okay, great. It's this late in the year. It's nearly the end of September. If it's first off, if it was foundation that you threw on to have them draw and it's not drawn, just game over. Don't even fool with it right now. Just get it off, get it out of the way, get it cleaned up. But here's where experience and I think the art of beekeeping come in hand, because once you get enough experience and you get enough wisdom and revolutions of this approach every single time, you start to feel confident and comfortable, not cocky, but comfortable and confident in making a decision. When I see those 3 frames, like today, I probably saw it at least 6 times. And those top boxes that I threw on just in case Goldenrod hit hard, and it hasn't, I put them on there. So now what I did is I took the box and I smacked that box down on the box below, so all the bees that are in that box jump down. And then we finished up what we needed to do. We closed the lid up, and then I took those boxes and just put them out. And yes, I let them get robbed out. I will take all those boxes, I will put them out and away, and I will let the bees who are foraging gather those resources, bring them home, and store them in a configuration that is correct for wintertime. What I don't want to do is have all these half-drawn, half-worked, half-stored boxes too late in the year, because number one, they're not going to be able to do anything with it, and it's too much dead airspace inside the colony. Knowing that the bees are going to start constricting and they're going to start tightening up that brood nest, they're not going to be getting bigger. They're going to start getting smaller and smaller and smaller. And so knowing that if I've got extra space up there and there's 3 or 4 frames and they're not going to do anything with it, either use those to balance out another colony that could use it, or get the bees out of it and let one of the stronger colonies who are out foraging snag it. That colony can actually use those frames above there. Sometimes this is going to sound stupid. I'm just going to say it. Those bees in the colony where they're not doing anything with that super above, yet there's 3 frames of let's say semi-capped honey in there, those bees can better utilize that honey if it's outside and getting robbed out than it is on the very top of the colony where they're not up there
That's right.
working. And so I'd rather get it out, let somebody else utilize it, get the boxes broke down, start to get them to the right size, right sized for winter.
Yeah, I agree. I think either solution to what you guys said is good. Yeah, I sometimes will, if I've got a colony this week, I might move some of those stores over there. But a lot of it, I check weight in that case. But I agree, Greg. That's not a bad idea at all. I think that's, if you want, especially if you have a configuration that you prefer, that you want to get them in, that they need to be in. You know, why would you have 2 frames above a nice heavy single, double, or you know, deep and medium? That's the correct size for what you want to do. I know. Let's go ahead and. I got a couple more questions I wanted to hit here that we've starred. This one, can you talk about your new queens late this year? Brian, do you have some new? You do have some new queens, don't you? Is that? I think that's what she's
I
talking
did.
about.
Yeah, I did. Oh my gosh, I'm trying to think of when I got those. Was it? Oh my gosh, that's been. Is that 4 weeks ago? I can't even think right now.
I think you were flirting and you were talking about coming down and getting some queens from us and then taking them back. And
it's probably been about 4 or so weeks ago.
Right about the time you were going through some experiencing some beekeeping experience that maybe changed the course of your need for that.
Yeah. So Carol, I did. I had queens sent from California, and I learned a very valuable lesson. So where I normally do my splits in the springtime, and you know, it's like I split them and the next day I toss in queens. I learned a valuable lesson in that in the fall, give it at least, you know, it's preferred like 5 days, and then you won't run into problems with your colonies just basically rejecting what you give them, and they'll want to make their own. So I learned a good lesson there. I do remember, you know, sitting on Greg's porch outside of his building there, and we're looking at columns, and he's like, you know, picture these columns here. That's day 1, day 2, 3, 4, 5, and so, and I thought, well, yeah, moving forward, that makes sense. But the new queens I got, they're doing good. The ones that did take, man, I mean, my video yesterday, I showed the one I was marking the one, and they're pretty chill, and that's what I like. So I probably moving forward. Now I do have an order that I didn't use from Greg, so I'm just so selective in my queens anymore. And Greg's, not to just brag on Greg, but his bees, you know, one of the daughters from one of the queens that I got from him last year, working one of those colonies with the inspector when he visited me this year, and he made the comment. He said, "These have to be the calmest bees I've worked all season, and they're just so chill." And that's what I want. I almost want them. So I think somebody said one time they were like stoner bees, you know. They're just so chill and they just do their thing, and that's what I want. I've got 3 colonies that have some different traits in them, and they're going to get replaced. I just don't want that. So as far as any queens that I have, you know, I look for certain ones, and anymore, to be honest, I'm more leaning towards like the Caucasian lines. I just, more and more that I work with those bees, like I've had Italians, I've had Carnies, I've had the Saskatraz, but the more and more that I work with, not just like straight Caucasians, but it's almost like a mixture, you know. I like those, and I think like Jose called his, it was like a Northwest Californian Caucasian hybrid. and Greg, I know like yours, you call them your Appalachian, but I'm more leaning towards the traits that style, that type of bee exhibits. So
Yeah.
it fits my beekeeping. Let's just say that.
Yeah. One more question here, and this is a open a can of worms type of a question that could go a lot of different directions
I
here.
know what you're going to click on.
So I'm going to click on this question, and what I want to do, let me click on it here.
12 o'clock will be done.
Okay, so this is what I want to do on this, because Marty, there are so many ways to do this. If each of us could take one way that we do splits and describe what we do and move on, there's just no way we'll probably do, I imagine as spring starts to roll around, we'll probably do some videos that are primarily about splits and queen introduction and things like that. So keep checking us out, Marty. But if we could each kind of do a quick little recap of a split method that we like to do or that we've done and how it's worked out for us. Why don't we start with you, Brian?
So wow, David, sheesh.
Thanks for that super chat, David.
Yes, thanks so much, David.
Make sure you check out the David Burns Beekeeping channel here on YouTube.
Yeah.
A lot of great content. And David, we had the opportunity and the honor of having him a part of the first annual Creator Convergence. And we're looking forward to having him here as part of this Convergence circle as we continue to move on. So, David, we really appreciate you.
Before we talk about like my 1 minute version of how I do my splits, I do
We'll give you 2 minutes.
I do have to add though, and it was on David's live, so it's out there for the whole world to see. For the Convergence in 2024, I do recall, and this is just so if Greg forgot, David Burns might have 25 golden tickets for next year.
Wow.
So just throwing that out there. So,
Go ahead, Brian.
Splits, like typically how I'll do them in the springtime, I normally will only do them in the spring, unless I go and visit Greg and he gives me a queen, then I got to pull a split from. But normally what I'll do is I'm watching my colonies so that you want to see, like, at least in mine, I want to see that there's some drones. You want to see those early signs where your colonies are expanding out. I want to see that they're brooding out. And typically what I'll do is I try and catch it. And it's almost like a timing game that the last 2 years I've been about spot on, where if I can catch like going from cells to cups, that's when I'll pull my splits. And I'll typically move my older queen. If I have really good queens, I will move that queen with a couple frames of brood, some stores, and I'm very conservative in my splits too. I know like some of my larger colonies, you could probably split them out into easily 3 or 4. But I'm typically very conservative and I just split, I just pull one split off. And then what I'll do when I do that split, if I have queens ordered, is I'll let it go in the spring. It's like, there's times I think the max I've ever done in the spring is like 2 days or so. And I'll put, install a mated queen. But when you do that, like for my splits, what I do is when you're going through your colony, you're somewhat cautious at times because you don't want to roll. You're not going to go straight into your brood area and pull out a brood frame because you don't want to roll your queen. Well, when you've already moved her, I'll go through and just pull every frame and shake all the bees off. And if I see any cells, smash them down, put the queen in. So that's the typical method that I did or that I do. It's worked for me usually in the spring. Now this year I learned a lesson in the fall. But this year with the fall, that wasn't involving splits. That was a different beast in itself. And I learned a lesson. But my splits, you'll see, just because, and I'm probably going over even 2 minutes, I'm very conservative on them because I don't want my numbers to go crazy. I don't have time to, if I went from like one colony turned into 3, I don't have time to manage those number, that number. So
Yeah.
my splits are very conservative compared to other people on here.
Greg, I have a request. And by the way, thanks for that super chat, Greg, and David Burns as well. Thank both you guys for that. Means a lot. I received a box, and for those who may not have been on here earlier, I received a box from Greg, and it had some of these in there.
Oh,
amazing pieces of equipment.
So this is what is that, Greg? And maybe you could describe an easy way to make splits using a
double screen board. Is a very old piece of beekeeping equipment that I think a lot of us are underutilizing because they've got so many uses and benefits. And once you start to clue in on what they can be used for, it is absolutely endless. How we're doing late splits has changed drastically with the use of the double screen board, primarily when we're doing late splits. Right now, we still haven't finished the last of our splits. I know that's going to sound outrageous to some folks, but we've got some colonies that are in 3 brood boxes that have 7 supers on there. I'm not going in the winter like that. It's ridiculous, right? I need them to be way smaller than that. And so what we're going to go do is we're going to put some of these colonies. This is just how we are doing this, and this may be backwards, but we use a double screen board as our primary tool for creating a queenless cell starter and queen right finisher. And so because we have so much experience using a double screen board in that scenario, we are intimately aware of what it's like to intentionally make a queenless colony and only do that for a time and then reintegrate the colony back and forth. In doing so, you end up with beautiful opportunities to make splits without having to move bees any kind of a great distance. And it gives you the opportunity to use the footprint and the heat signature of the colony below to sustain the colony above. So briefly, in this scenario, what we are doing, we are utilizing double screen boards heavily to make all of our last splits. And how we are doing that, there's a couple of different ways you can do it. The easiest way, it might not be the best way. The easiest way is just literally the no look. And if you've got if you've got 2 boxes of brood, there's brood in both, and you've got a honey super on top, you can literally split those 2 boxes, put the double screen board in with the entrance opposing the current colony's entrance, and then walk away for 5 days. Come back in 5 days, go back into those boxes. You can look to see, okay, who has queen cells, who doesn't. Who has queen cells, there's no queen in there. You can go through, knock down every single queen cell at day 5 or 6 or 7. Once you are absolutely sure they have no future chance of making another queen, and then you can add your queen to it. Well, how in the world are you adding queens to these boxes that late in the year? We are still cleaning up the queen yards. And so we are bringing the queens from all of the mating boxes and smaller colonies that wouldn't make it on their own, snagging those and using that to requeen and get larger colonies set up for the wintertime. What I like to do, this is a little bit more work, but I'll actually find the queen and the brood. What are you guys laughing about?
Read Bruce's text.
Where's my phone at? Let's see.
Well, I just substitute one letter for another, and it's a completely different word. Anyway,
Bruce, how dare you,
Greg? I'm trying to hold. You're giving out.
Look what Bruce said. No, I'm just kidding.
You're giving out some great info, and I look down and I see that for Bruce, and I'm just like,
man, I was really. It was one of the few times tonight where I could actually see what I wanted to say, and my mouth was cooperating.
Okay, well, we'll just pick up where you left off.
What I was saying. It's okay. It's not a big deal. Double screen boards. They're all if there is a more foolproof way to do this. This just feels cheap now. This just feels like we're just forcing this conversation to happen now, guys. I mean, let's just sit back here, have a cup of coffee, and we'll get back to it here. Like it never, with the power of editing on video, it's like it never happened. Here we go. Okay, take 3. Did Bruce type something dirty? What did Bruce type? I would never throw my friend under the bus.
Yeah.
But hashtag Bruce's bad words. If you can guess the bad word, and no, I'm just kidding. Don't do that.
No,
Don't shut the whole chat down. The bot will
Well,
kick in. Don't do that. I'm just no, it wasn't actually that bad of a word. It's just funny when something remotely sour comes out of Bruce's mouth. You don't hear it. You don't ever hear it out of his mouth. You only hear it because it's a typo.
Yeah.
And let's give him a break, guys. I mean, he's missing one finger on one hand. So you try texting like that. All right. Before you start throwing stones, okay? Let's give Bruce some grace here. What were we talking about now, guys?
double screen bottom,
was it? Double screen boards. Okay, the last thing I'll say about I got to mention this. What I am doing right now, it takes you a little bit more time, but this is the way that I like to do it. Okay? If you have the fresh queens, you've got them in your mating nukes, you've got them a little mating yard, or you have access to queens this late in the year, what I like to do is find the queen, especially if they're old queens. I will find her, and I will make up a 10-frame single, like a nice 10-frame single, just that. I'll put that on top of the double screen board, on top of the current colony, with the entrance facing the opposite way. And what that does is all the field force and everybody else ends up leaving out of that box, and they'll fly back in underneath to that entrance below. So what that does is it really crowds out and overpopulates the boxes below, and it kind of thins out on top where mom is at. Well, guess what? She's on top of a double screen board. So here in Ohio, we can get by with 3 to 4 frames of bees and overwinter no problem in a single by themselves. But imagine putting that colony, if you're worried about the thermal imprint, imagine putting them over top of a double screen board where the heat from the colony below is going to now rise up that double screen and create a little extra warmth from them. So now everything below has that fresh queen. It's the right size colony, exactly what you want. And then on top of that, you've got another backup queen, another backup colony ready to go. Now you can go through the winter and double up some numbers. So for us, it's a way that we can double up some numbers, increase our chances of overwintering, while more importantly, right sizing our colonies for winter. I do not want triple deeps for winter. I don't want double deeps with 3 supers for wintertime. I want one 10-frame deep single. I want a 10-frame single with a super. And if everything is healthy and on point and they're just right, doubles. No more than that. Not for me. That's where we run into trouble with too much moisture and bees that end up eating themselves out of house and home. So I like the little bit smaller colonies to go through the winter up here in Ohio. So they work great for, it's a way you can split the colony and they're evacuating the box, filling up the other one. You can go see who's queenless, knock down the queen cells, add your extra queen cell, and then use that double screen board for extra heat in that colony above. And those double screen boards also serve well if you do have small colonies throughout the yard, and that you do in your, they're like, okay, it's probably 4 frames. Do I want to put it into a 5-frame box? Do I want to leave them where they're at? What do I do? Stick that colony in a 10-frame box over top of double screen board, over top of strong colony. And I think that's a great thing to think about doing. That wasn't 2 minutes. My time was, you guys should have just shepherd's hook.
Thanks for that. The danger with the keyboard on a phone is the U, the I, and the O are all next to each other, and there's all kinds of opportunity for shenanigans when that happens. All kinds of words.
JW Irwin, thanks, Dirty Mouth Bruce, $20 super chat. Thank you, JW.
So I did want to address one more question. Brian, you good for one more question?
Yeah.
And I want to, before we do that, though, I'd like to just once again recognize all the folks that have donated super chats and super stickers tonight. We've got Triple CR Apiary. Thanks for the super chat. Connor over in Israel from Brown and Daughters Honey. Kenneth Bach, thank you so much. As well as David Burns, appreciate it so much. Greg, thank you. Lisa, Grammy's midwife. JW Irwin, appreciate all you guys so much for that.
Bruce, we want to thank you for being human and saying bad words like this. You see that? Did you see it? Oh, did you see it? Everyone, got to go back and hit the replay.
Okay, just think of words where you can substitute the U and the I, and then you'll figure it out maybe. And
He
there is an
said,
emoji
I'll
for
tell you
it.
what he said.
And it's something that you see in the hospital quite often if you're dealing with someone that has something called C. diff. And so
There's only
go.
2 letters. It's a 4-letter word, but there's only 2. There's a consonant and a vowel. That's it. You ready?
All right, everybody.
Guys ready?
Bruce
Just
typed
us
out
two.
in
I'm gonna say
mustard.
it. Should we say it? Come on. Who
Bruce-
wants to hear
Bruce-
it?
I'm not saying
Who
it.
wants to hear Bruce's bad word?
Bruce
You think
typed
we
out
should do it?
mustard.
Okay, you ready? Are you ready? Bruce, I don't feel like you're in it to win it here. He said, I'll spell it.
There's the first 2 letters and people will know what it is.
P-O-O-P.
Except,
Poop.
okay, all right. Let's
Pretty
move on
hard.
to the last question.
Oh, come on, Bruce. I was just getting warmed up here.
Yeah, Grammy. Oh, goodness. All right. Well, let's go to the last question from Nick here. This is actually a really good one. And I think it's
Ooh.
something that, Greg, you've got a lot of, you could really, I think, speak to this a lot. Is it possible to overfeed this time of year? I fed some hives 3 gallons in frame feeders, and I noticed the queen really not having much room to lay now. Thought about giving them 1 drawn comb. So what do you think about that?
Is it possible to overfeed? Well, here's the scenario. Our friend Nick is in the Sunbury, Ohio area, just north of Columbus, probably 50 minutes or so from here, maybe an hour. The challenge that a lot of us had in the Ohio area and surrounding states is that the bees had such a tremendous flow, spring, summer flow, mostly summer, like June, that everything above the brood was actually just absolutely jammed full of resources. Okay. So anything that was in deeps, anything that you didn't pull, they had. Okay. Then we ran into about a 4 to 5 week of pretty severe dearth where we were getting just enough rain to aggravate you. It kept the ground green barely, but not enough of the plants pumping enough nectar. And so what everyone was finding is that the queen and the brood were all in the uppermost boxes of the colonies, and everything below was bone dry and empty, and the bees were not moving back down. So in that scenario, what do? Right? You've got a box of brood and 1 or 2 boxes below with nothing in it. So what a lot of folks did when they came and talked to us about it, I said, here's what we do in that situation is we'll move the queen and the brood back on the bottom again, and then we'll put those other boxes on top because they're all empty. And then we'll lay the feed to them. But here's the trick. If you were to give them as much, if you can gorge feed and you can stimulate feed. I'm not even sure if that's the right words, but this is what I see. There are times of the year where I want to gorge feed, and there's times of the year where I want to stimulate feed. Like very early in the year, when they're coming off the wintertime and there's not a lot going on, I actually want to do a little bit of gorge feeding so you can replenish enough of those stores, enough of those carbohydrates in the colony, so they can really start to think about brooding. Once they've got enough resources inside the colony, I switch to more of a stimulation feed, where I want them to feel like they have incoming nectar at all times. And that's where bucket feeders come into play. As the season goes on and nectar sources come in, the buckets get turned over or they're off completely, and they don't need it a lot. But then we get caught by the short hairs, and then we have a 4 to 5 week period because they've just stored so much of that nectar. When we hit that dearth, they end up burning through it so quick, especially if they brooded up heavily, and then they're out of balance again. So now we're into this part of the year, and what do? Do we gorge feed, or do we want to trickle or stimulate feed? Well, it depends on what's going on inside that colony. Is there enough brood to carry them through the wintertime? Do they need to brood up, make more winter bees still? Or do they have really good numbers, but they don't have enough stores? And there is no right or wrong answer here because every box is going to be just a little bit different. But if you were to put, he says, I fed some hives 3 gallons in frame feeders, and I noticed the queen really not having much room to lay now. Thought about giving them 1 drawn comb. You have to probably know exactly what size brood nest they need to be for wintertime. If we're talking about if she doesn't have room on 2 frames to lay, you might want to give her just a little bit more room. They're not going to stop laying, but how much she lays, the size of the nest is going to start shrinking. If they're back, the key is look to where there is brood. If they're backfilling the brood areas with nectar, that's a little bit of a problem, right? But if they're still leaving a few frames open in the brood areas, whether she's moving up and down between 2 boxes or just the box below, if there's room for her to lay, I think you're okay. The thing to think about, though, when it is time to feed, feeding 3 gallons in frame feeders, that's a lot. That's a lot. I mean, that's if it was Pro Sweet, you're talking about 34, 35 pounds of feed. I mean, that's like adding an entire super's worth, unless you were using something like a 1-to-1 or a light feed. They're going to burn through an enormous amount of light feed right now to be able to get enough of the thickness of it. So that's why we use nothing but Pro Sweet. And this time of year, that's where Pro Sweet shines, because if I put 1 gallon or 2 gallons on a colony, that's about all they need to really top off. If they need one more, I can do that too. The follow-up says they're down to 5 frames of brood, but are backfilling pretty bad on the hives. 5 frames of brood is I mean, that's beautiful. That's about where I'd want to be right now.
Sounds about perfect, actually.
Yeah, I would 5 frames of brood and all the food they can lay up. That's where I would love. I don't want to have more brood than that right now.
All right, gentlemen. I just wanted to go back. There may have been a couple of super chats I missed earlier. J.W. Irwin, thank you so much. It was nice to meet you at the Convergence. Thanks for the super chat and the comment. And Brian, thanks so much. You guys didn't have to do that. I really appreciate it. I think we need to go ahead and wrap this thing up here pretty quick. I know, Brian, you've had a long day and you need to get to bed pretty soon. And we appreciate everyone for being on here. I think we'll do a quick go around the horn here, and I'll start off. Maybe then you, Brian, and then Greg, you can bring it home for us like we usually do. Appreciate everyone for being on here tonight, and coming in the next few days. Hopefully, we'll be able to have just get the bees taken care of, get them fed. I've got some queens coming from Greg. Going to be adding some queens in. Thanks, Nick. Once again, thanks for the super chat there. We really appreciate it. And going to have Eric Varnum, Spirited Toad, hopefully coming to help me a little bit on Friday if he's able to make it over here. He's about an hour to an hour and a half away over on Lake Seminole, just across the line over there, southwestern Georgia. And so hopefully he can come and just kind of hang out with me a little bit, get to know him. I've met him once before, and so we'll do that. And just kind of getting them ready for winter still. I'm going to be removing all the apivar and just maybe doing some mite checks and just looking at status of the bees. So far, I think they're looking as good as they ever have this time of the year on average in my bee yards, and really excited about some of the genetic things I'm trying to do up in Ozark and maybe help be able to expand throughout my entire operation. And it's been kind of fun. I hope you guys are enjoying coming along for the ride. One more thing I told Eric we might try to do if we have time is dig into the hive down in Slocum where Big Red is located, see if she's still alive or see if she's been replaced or see how that hive is doing, or all of the above, or just see what's going on with that colony. So that might be, if we do that, that'll be a video coming out soon if I'm able to get down there. I'm going to do it. I'm not sure if it'll be this weekend, but we're going to get down there and check on that. I've had somebody ask about that a few days ago, and I thought, I need to find out too how that's doing. I've seen bees in and out, but I haven't had a deep dive in that colony probably for 2 or 3 months. So it's a good time to do that and just follow up on that. But that's kind of where I'm at. We're just bottling up honey, selling honey as people need it, and just trying to kind of get the bees put to bed, as they say, for winter, and just try and figure out what we're going to do next year. And so it's kind of a good time and good times around here. Weather's cooling down. It's been real nice the last few days. Ryan, let's turn it over to you.
Yeah, I got next, I tell you, week and a half, I've got a video on like my thoughts on the VSH that I got this year. That'll be coming out just, probably within the next couple days. And then probably I'm thinking Friday and on Sunday, I'm going to go through and pull some supers and start my final extraction. And then I got to get ready because I'm doing another market on October 7th. So, just harvesting and continue to sell and, getting things wrapped up. I actually, and can't believe I'm even saying this, but I'm actually looking forward to getting the supers pulled and just getting that all done so that I can clean that stuff up and just kind of store it.
Absolutely.
So, but it'll be I think the next week and a half is probably going to be really busy between work and the bees. So, but I'll have some videos coming out on everything. So, if anybody is wondering, I'll shoot videos on how I harvest and, everything that I do. So like always, but like Bruce said, appreciate everybody watching. And Mr. Burns, it is your turn, buddy.
Can I say one thing quick before we close, Greg? I just wanted to let everyone know that we certainly do appreciate you. And once again, like we talked about at the beginning, for those of you who are on here, this is obviously part of the title is beekeeping chat. So we do talk about bees on here, but it's about much more than that. And we just want you to know how much we appreciate you. The bees, as Greg says, and he may mention it here in a minute, are the conduit to the people. A rising tide lifts all boats. And so, we may not always talk about bees throughout the entire chat, but we are just appreciative of you guys out there, of everyone who's ever watched the chat, everyone who's on here tonight, has been on here tonight, and just the community that we've been able to be a part of. We're doing this chat. We love it, but this community is just incredible. And so it's really about the whole picture. Yes, bees are the conduit to the people, but it's really more about the people and the community than anything else, I believe. And that's kind of what we're trying to do here. And we just appreciate you all so much. All right, Greg, bring it home.
I mean, if folks get tired of us saying thanks, we're not sorry, because we're in a position where, right now I'm sitting in a supply shop that's also the podcast studio, the editing bay. This is all made possible because of folks supporting community, supporting beekeeping, supporting each other. It's not just about beekeeping. It's about being our brother's keeper. We've said it several times tonight that bees are the conduit to the people. There are a lot of chats out there. There's a lot of information out there, but more importantly, whatever that we are doing with this experience, it is our intention to be us, to be genuine, to be exactly who we are, what we're thinking, what we're feeling, how we're going about that, how we're working through that. At the end of the day, beekeeping, yes, there's some nuts and bolts, and you crack a lid and you go through a hive and you make some manipulations, you make some good choices. But at the end of the day, if you're not right here and you're not right here, whatever you do here doesn't matter, right? A lot of what you do here is being in tune here and having education and experience and wisdom, and there's an art to all of that. And so much of what we do, feel, think, and believe goes into that. And so the Stream Team Beekeeping Chat is not just about the nuts and bolts of beekeeping, but it's about sharing our experience as beekeepers, as we're going down this journey with the bees, as we feel called to be keepers of the bees. And so we appreciate the folks who are supporting the Bruce's Bees channel, the Castle Hives, the Nature's Image Farm, and also all the folks that we collaborate with too. It makes such a big difference knowing that you're not on an island doing this by yourself, that you've got folks that are in your circle. They want to see you do well. And that's what this community is about. That's what this beekeeping chat is about. And so again, from the bottom of my heart, from the entire Burns family, everyone here at Nature's Image Farm, we are so ever thankful for the folks that are supporting what we're doing to be a lighthouse to others. It means the world to us. And so we can't thank you enough. As you guys are working through the rest of the fall and you're making plans for the last bits and pieces of equipment that you are looking for, we'd be honored if you kept us in mind for those things too. If you're looking for Hive Alive fondant, if you're looking for ProSuite, if you're looking for double screen boards, wax dip lids, wax dip boxes, Formic Pro mite wash cups, Apigard, you name it, we've got those here in the shop, and we've got a lot of these things on the website. If you see something that you need or you're looking for that's not on our website, just give me a call or shoot me a message. We likely have it and can ship it to you, no problem. I also, again, want to thank the Mid-Ohio Valley Beekeepers Association for having me at their club to speak. They're awesome folks. It's an honor to spend time with them. That was the last scheduled bee club of the year. And out of all these things that we do, truth be told, my favorite moments of the year are those spent with others. Whether it's here in the learning yard, talking about bees, trying to be a lighthouse to folks, spending that at bee clubs. And so it's been an honor this year to spend so much time with folks all across the country. If you have a bee club or you're interested in having us come out to your bee club or conference, you can go to our website at nature'simagefarm.com, hit the contact us, shoot us a message, and let's talk about coming and speaking, presenting, or being a part of your bee club. We'd love to talk about that. And again, if you're looking for any kind of supplies, We love it if you'd kept us in mind at nature'simagefarm.com. Bruce and Brian, I really appreciate you guys for what you're doing, not only individually on your channels, on sharing your journey with beekeeping, but I appreciate you guys taking time every week to collaborate for another Stream Team Beekeeping Chat. Next Wednesday, 8 p.m., will be on the Nature's Image Farm YouTube channel. Who knows what we're going to talk about? Sometimes we don't even know until we start talking about it. But what we do know is we're going to have a good time with all the folks in this community. So whether you were listening tonight live, if you're checking out this replay, from all of us here at the Stream Team Beekeeping Chat, we want to thank you. And as always, remind you to be the lighthouse and be the change you want to see in this world. Thanks for watching. See you next time.